Okay, here we go. Here's another one. So I got a short little video I'm going to make before I should really get into studying for this next quiz that I have. But anyway, um, what is the difference between the lumpen proletariat and the folks who want to get them on their side? The proletariat, these left-wing folks who want to give this information out. The thing is that the difference is that it's loyalty, and it's not critical support. This is one of the biggest differences. Yeah, I remember seeing an interview with Mac 10 of West Side Connection. Friends with Ice Cube and all that stuff. Anyway, the difference is that he said, my daddy taught me to be loyal. Taught me to be loyal to the homies. If you're going to ride with somebody, you're going to ride with somebody. And that's something that you see is that there is a sense of loyalty for each other, And so amongst gangs, at least there was that time where it's like, yeah, you need to free my homie, Tweety Loke or something like that, free my homie, And yeah, the left will talk about that was like, free Mumia or whatever the case may be. But I think that there, of course, will be folks that say, we're going to give critical support to these folks. And it's like, well, we're principled, this and that. And you'll see them playing the political game where some people are worthy and other people aren't. Lumpen proletariat does not feel that way. They're like, hey, regardless, he's one of us. That's how they feel. Where the United States left will overturn people and everything else. Like I say, you can feel as you want to about Jimmy Dore. I still think that Jimmy Dore is a good guy. You see, folks are now, the folks that were really on Jimmy Dore's side are now turning against him because he talked to one of the Boogaloo Boys. And because he did that, he is now seen as an enemy. And I think that it's ridiculous to say the least. That now they're going to say, well, now that he talked with those folks, now I lost my place. I'll admit I lost what I was saying. But basically, because he talked to them, he's now part of the enemy. It's like, you shouldn't do that. We shouldn't work with right-wingers, this and that. There's no red-brown alliance or any of that. And of course, you talk about, okay, well, what are you doing to get people on your side? Well, and we've seen Beau the Fifth Column's attempts at trying to get the working class on their side. And it's insulting. It is literally insulting. Well, you should have known. For 15 years, they've talked about this. Why don't you join your class interest, prole? Why don't you join your class interests? How does that convince people? Can anyone tell me that? How does that convince people to join the left? And I know that there's tough love, and there's also trying to convince people to get them on their side. This is a very fine line. And to me, it's very disheartening to see how you treat ordinary people. And it goes to show that a lot of these lefties today are just elitist folks who say, well, here's my tight group of people that I'm going to talk to that are going to, protest and everything else. These are the folks I'm going to join. Even when talking about Karl Otto Pytel and, the National Bolshevist Manifesto, is that he, didn't really care that much about rural farming folks and everything else. But in general, we've seen this sort of elitist sort of attitude, or at least what I consider elitist, where it's like, well, we're going to pick and choose. We're going to get to pick and choose who we get on our side. To me, that shouldn't be the standard of left-wing discourse, of choosing it like it's a game of dodgeball and say, well, we're going to work with these folks. Fuck those other folks, though. We're not going to deal with them. And when you do that, you find that you have a circle jerk. If you want to bring all these folks on your side, that's one thing. But we all know, ultimately, the real linchpin of this whole thing is that ultimately the left doesn't want unity. They don't want unity. They don't want actual revolution. They talk about it. Some do. Yeah, the MLs will talk about it, this and that. But ultimately, I think even with them to a point is that they just say, well, we don't want to work with right-wingers. We don't want to work with these folks. We only want to work with these folks right here. Or you'll have people like Vosh who will say, actually, the Democratic Party is revolutionary. And when you have that sort of mindset, you see that people get burned out. And you'll see folks that lose their faith in what they believe, which is unfortunate. I think that's all I have to say. I hope you'll enjoy that. See you later. Goodbye.